Hello, and welcome to the Edifice of Trust podcast. The Edifice of Trust podcast is a thoughtful discussion of today's current events from the perspective of America's founding principles. Hello, everyone. Recently, the Wall Street Journal editorial page featured two articles about the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, DEI, programs that have infiltrated universities, corporations, and professional organizations throughout America. One article celebrated the anticipated demise of DEI. Pop Goes the DEI Bubble by Andy Kessler, published on January 21st, 2024. And the other asserted that some aspects of DEI are worth saving. DEI is worth saving from its excesses by Roland Fryer, published January 22nd, 2024. I applaud the journal for presenting two sides of an issue, but must admit my beliefs tend more toward Mr. Kessler's point of view. Mr. Kessler is a Wall Street Journal editorial writer, and his article celebrated recent events that indicate that DEI is in decline, such as the banning of DEI programs by 5 states, the Supreme Court ruling against affirmative action in Students for Fair Admissions versus Harvard, and the removal of Claudine Gay at Harvard, where she had catapulted to the presidency of the prestigious university for her promotion of DEI programs as Dean of Faculty. Mr. Kessler points out that DEI programs are based on the writings of Karl Marx that have been transformed into critical race theory, a theory that supports the slaughter of 1,200 innocent Israelis, defined as oppressors by CRT, at the hands of the oppressed terrorists of Hamas. All those protesters shouting from the river to the sea are just echoing what the programs have indoctrinated them to believe. DEI isn't about diversity, equity, or inclusion at all. It is about redesigning American society into a collective utopia, like the Soviet Union. Mr. Kessler closes his article with the warning that, quote, while the DEI movement may have peaked, like that Monty Python character, it's not dead yet, unquote. Roland Fryer is an economics professor at Harvard who earned the enmity of anti-racists and critical race theorists across the country by publishing research that showed, much to his surprise, that racial bias does not appear to be a significant factor in cases where cops shoot black suspects. As I noted in my commentary, Critical Race Conundrum, published April 15th, 2021. Professor Fryer concedes that, quote, some of what happens under the DEI banner is truly objectionable, unquote. But he insists that DEI can be used for talent optimization, a process of, quote, finding hidden talent in a world where not everyone has an equal chance to exhibit their abilities, unquote. Professor Fryer states that his research shows that, quote, roughly 10 to 15% of racial disparities in hiring and promotion are due to bias, unquote, which is probably a lot less than most DEI advocates would suppose. But he also discovered that truly talented blacks receive wage increases slightly more rapidly than whites. Where there is more discrimination and bias is among more mediocre performers, both black and white. He recommends that artificial intelligence be used as a talent optimizing strategy that could reduce or eliminate bias. But the amount of bias and discrimination that Professor Fryer's research indicates would hardly justify the omnipresent and draconian DEI programs across American institutions. He reveals his positive attitude toward DEI, although back then it was called affirmative action, which he credits for his getting a scholarship to graduate school, although the fact that he graduated cum laude from UT Arlington in only 2.5 years might have helped to tip things in his favor. Professor Fryer does not discuss the philosophical underpinnings of DEI programs, which are based on critical race theory and the anti-racism propounded by Ibram X. Kendi. These are radical ideas intended to transform the entire foundation of America, just as Mr. Kessler observed. Not some machine learning-based algorithms intended to help achieve the colorblind society that Martin Luther King envisioned. Ponder that while you watch a brief message. How does diversity work, and how does it not work? To answer that question, and many others, I read The Difference. This book by Scott Page, a University of Michigan professor of economics and political science, was first published back in 2007, and I first wrote about it in 2016. The concept of diversity and the role it plays in society is generally misunderstood. This book will help you understand diversity and how it can help improve our lives. Welcome back. I think some of the positive feeling that Professor Fryer has for DEI programs arises from the words diversity, equity, and inclusion. These sound like positive goals for Americans to strive for. It is the hidden agenda of the DEI programs behind these positive sounding words that we must look at critically. Firstly, it is the DEI programs themselves that define what diversity is and what goals diversity should strive to achieve. Every institution is supposed to, quote, look like America, which means that all identity groups should be represented proportionally, no matter how different these groups might be. But what does this achieve? It means that some individuals are placed in positions they don't want or don't deserve. But the individuals in the group are meaningless, statistical errors. Who cares what the individual wants or thinks? Diversity of thought within the group is not allowed. Think differently and you will be canceled. There must not only be diversity, there must be equity. That means that every group should have income, housing, and transportation in the same proportional amount as the other groups. Some individuals within the group will receive more than they deserve, while others in a different group will lose what they have earned. Who cares? There must be equity between the groups. What could be more fair? I had to check a number of DEI websites to get a handle on what inclusion means. Apparently, inclusion is not something that you can quantify like you can diversity and equity. And unlike diversity and equity, the individual reigns supreme in inclusion, because inclusion is the feeling of belonging a person has within an organization. That person wants to feel respected, no matter their talents, habits, or proclivities. I was taught that respect had to be earned, but not anymore. Respect must be freely given to everyone, no matter what. I think the DEI that Dr. Fryer admires lies in the colorblind society that Dr. King invoked when he said he hoped his children, quote, will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character, unquote. The key word in Dr. King's quote is judged. Judgment is not allowed in the anti-racist DEI movement. Judgment would recognize individuals are unique and not defined by being part of a group. Judgment would recognize that equity lies in opportunity, not outcome. And judgment would recognize that respect is earned. DEI programs use the words diversity, equity, and inclusion to conceal their true intent. Their intent is to overthrow the America based on Enlightenment philosophy that guarantees our personal liberty and economic freedom, and replace it with a race-based collectivist state ruled by leftist elites. There really is nothing worth saving in DEI. That's why I lean toward Mr. Kessler's point of view. Thank you for watching.